Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. We begin at 11 with a health alert as doctors confirm the first case of measles this year in Oregon. Catherine Cook's in the newsroom. Catherine, officials say this is an unvaccinated traveler and people could have been exposed at a couple of very busy public places.
And David, that would be a grocery store in Lake Oswego and the Portland airport. We're told by health officials that the person who got the measles had just returned from an international trip.
We now have our first case of measles in Oregon in 2025.
State health officials warn the adult with Oregon's first confirmed measles case of the year spent time at this Safeway store on A Avenue in Lake Oswego. They say they were here on Sunday, June 22nd, between 11:30 a.m. and 3 p.m.
I go here every day. It's my local grocery store, Safeway, so that's a little frightening.
Pedro Fernandez says he and his kids are vaccinated against the measles, a disease health officials declared eliminated in the U.S. 25 years ago.
The problem is there's so many people that, as a matter of choice, choose not to be vaccinated, but we're a public grouping of human beings. We're not just individuals, and this is where that intersects.
I think my biggest thing is if you're sick, stay home. Don't spread it around.
A few days before the Safeway visit, health officials say the adult was hospitalized with measles symptoms, including a rash and pink eye. A lab confirmed the disease on Monday. The patient had recently traveled internationally, pointing to another public exposure risk. On June 17th, they took a United Airlines flight from Chicago to Portland, landing around 6:30 p.m. Health officials say they spent 2 hours at PDX, including time in baggage claim. Doctors' biggest concern is over people who aren't vaccinated.
When it lands in a group of relatively unvaccinated people, it'll spread like wildfire. And so, what our summer looks like is going to be dependent on what that happens, whether that happens.
Health officials say measles symptoms can show up 1 to 3 weeks after exposure. They usually start with a fever, cough, runny nose, and red eyes, followed by a rash. To limit exposure to others, doctors say call your provider ahead of time if you think you're infected. Don't just show up. And they note the recommended 2 doses of MMR vaccine offer 97% protection against the measles.
And if the medical advice is to be vaccinated, then we're vaccinated. I don't see where there's a debate, and as a consequence, people are going to die unnecessarily with an eradicated disease. It's unbelievable.
If you have travel plans, either international or domestic, doctors say it's a good idea to double check your vaccine records. Then if needed, get the MMR vaccine before you travel. David?
Yeah, always a good reminder. Thanks, Catherine. Tonight, a ceasefire between Israel and Iran appears to be holding some 24 hours in, while a new U.S. intelligence assessment shows American strikes on Iran may not have been as effective as first thought. The assessment says Iran's nuclear program was set back only a few months by the U.S. attacks on nuclear sites rather than being, quote, completely obliterated, as President Trump indicated. Both NBC News and the Associated Press are quoting sources who have seen that report. Trump tonight posting on social media that the sites were destroyed and slamming some media for trying to demean the mission. Earlier today, the president scolded both Iran and Israel, accusing them of initially violating the ceasefire.
I think they both violated it. I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.
There you go. Israel says it intercepted 2 Iranian missiles after the ceasefire was set to begin and appeared to call off its response, though, after hearing from President Trump. Meanwhile, Homeland Security is warning about what it calls a heightened threat environment in the U.S. due to that conflict. It says folks should be on guard for cyber attacks and violent rhetoric, particularly from extremists. Here's what one local security expert who's retired from the FBI had to say.
We focus a lot on physical security. It's where people see the most security improvements in their spaces, and cyber needs to be as important to all of these organizations as well.
Oregon's emergency management team is asking everyone to stay informed, paying attention to news and updates, to look out for suspicious behavior, and to report anything that does not seem right to authorities. And finally, to be careful online and, as usual, watch for scams, phishing emails, texts, smishing, or suspicious links. Okay, let's take you outside on this Tuesday, where despite the clouds and a little bit of haze earlier, we still managed to see daytime highs top out in the mid-80s, though. It does not look like we're going to go back to back with temperatures quite like that. Meteorologist Joe Ranieri here with the first look at your weather impact forecast. Joe, how is tomorrow looking?
Tomorrow's looking cool and cloudy with a few little sprinkles here and there. That's pretty much all I'm describing in terms of precipitation. It's not going to be a whole lot, but you'll notice the temperatures out there. Now, the cloud cover will be really covering up some of that smoke and haze, although it will be in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So a chance for some light showers at times. Probably throughout the morning hours, highs will be below average. We should be seeing temperatures right around 76 degrees, while tomorrow will be right around the low 70s. Right now, we're starting to see some of those clouds increasing, which we have been seeing here throughout part of the afternoon and evening as well. Downtown Portland right now, temperature of 61 degrees. Again, that smoke will still be in the forecast heading into early tomorrow morning, but by the later part of the day, it pushes off to the east. But again, the wildfire smoke is coming in from the fires out of British Columbia. But again, up and down the I-5 corridor, the air quality is in the good category. And as we look at the future cast, we go through to tomorrow and into Thursday. These are the next 2 days where we're going to be looking at cool and cloudy conditions with a little bit of some more chance for some measurable amount of rain, if you will, heading into Thursday. But by Friday afternoon, late Friday and into the weekend, things will start to improve. And David, I do have temperatures close to 90 for the weekend. I know that's a few days out, but something to look forward to.
Oh boy, keep it cool for now. Keep things from drying out too fast. Thanks, Joe. Well, now to a major update in the door plug blowout on board an Alaska flight over Portland last year. Remember that night very well, right? Federal transportation investigators now pointing to systemic failures on the part of Boeing and the FAA as the cause of that near disaster. Tim Gordon takes a closer look at the new safety recommendations laid out today.
On January 5th, 2024, at about 5:13 p.m. Pacific Standard Time,
the NTSB laid out the facts about Alaska Airlines Flight 1282, starting with heroism for those who got the plane down safely after a door plug blew out after taking off from Portland with 164 passengers on board.
I firmly believe there's one reason Flight 1282 averted catastrophe, and one reason only: the crew.
NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy shared what it was like on the flight deck that January evening when the cabin lost pressure.
To quote the captain, it was an explosive experience. The first officer said it was chaos.
Chaos at roughly 15,000 feet. The cabin crew dealing with a gaping hole in the side of the plane, the pilots working to descend and land safely.
And yet the crew shouldn't have had to be heroes, because this accident never should have happened.
The board spoke with NTSB investigators about why the door plug blew out, confirming it was 4 missing bolts that allowed the door plug to slowly slide up.
And what was happening is it was gradually moving up, and eventually it wouldn't hold it any further. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, we saw the evidence of that in the materials lab exam and those seal marks.
There is a fix coming by 2026 to add an additional fastener and other improvements to the door plugs. Throughout the hearing, the NTSB pointed to several problems at Boeing, from a loss of veteran workers to poor training for new ones, ineffective management, a rush to produce more planes on the assembly line.
An accident like this does not happen because of an individual or even a group of individuals. Aviation is much more resilient than that. An accident like this only happens when there are multiple system failures.
And that includes the systems of the FAA, charged with making sure aircraft are built to safely carry their valuable payloads of people.
They really need to look at how they've conducted oversight in the past, why their oversight didn't pick up on deficiencies, and how to improve that in the future.
Tim Gordon, KGW News.
Now, there was a lot there. Boeing, by the way, issued a statement after the hearing saying it, quote, regrets this accident and continues to work on strengthening safety and quality across our operations. We will review, Boeing says, the final report and recommendations as we continue to implement improvements, end quote. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, starting on the coast, where a former Lincoln County School District employee has been sentenced to prison for sexually abusing a student. 53-year-old Angela Schaefer was sentenced to 18 months in prison after she pleaded guilty to rape and furnishing alcohol to a minor. She will also be required to register as a sex offender. Schaefer was a health services advocate at Taft High School at the time of said abuse. A last-minute move by Oregon lawmakers could eliminate Multnomah County's Preschool for All program. An amendment introduced late Monday aims to prevent counties from imposing an income tax for preschool if it does not align with state standards. The program, which was approved by voters in 2020, taxes high-income earners to provide free preschool for 3- and 4-year-olds. Multnomah County leaders today calling the effort to get rid of it, quote, unconscionable.
The County Commission is standing together, and Multnomah County is doing everything possible to protect against this unprecedented, unfair, and undemocratic effort.
And we're one of those rare families that we both benefit from and pay into Preschool for All. And we're thrilled to do it. We think that it's an extremely wise investment of public dollars.
Okay, a couple of points of view there. If the amendment moves forward, and that is a big if, the program could be fully eliminated as early as 2027. We'll keep you posted there. Turns out that is not the only tax, by the way, that could be going away. The homeless services tax on high-income earners and businesses across the Tri-County area could sunset if voters do not renew it. Today, the Metro Council essentially decided to scrap efforts to get an extension on this November's ballot, citing a recent survey that showed voters were unlikely to approve it, right? Reading the writing on the wall, so to speak. It's unclear when Metro plans to try again. Right now, the current tax expires in 2030. And Governor Kotek has signed a bill into law that provides unemployment benefits to striking workers. We've covered the debate on this extensively. This makes Oregon the first state to offer this type of pay to striking public employees. Eligible workers can now collect benefits after 2 weeks on the picket lines, with payments capped at 10.